Hey folks, oftentimes my wife and I are asked, what subjects do we stress the most in our home? Well, first of all, I qualify that statement by saying, the glory of homeschooling is every household is different. But in the Smith household, the two subjects that we stress the most are theology and history, God and His interaction with His creation. There are so many great lessons that will serve our kids well in this life as well as the life to come from those two subject matters. One such area is in the area of submission. Only last week I was talking with my kids about the importance of submission, and I share with them that submission is a two-edged sword. And so for this week and next week, I would like to talk about submission from an authoritative side and also from the submissive side. In Esther chapter 2, verse 15, we see Esther being prepared to go in with the king. And it says here that she took nothing with her except what the king's eunuch who had charged the women advised. And Esther was winning favor in the eyes of all who saw her. So Esther's getting ready to go into the king, and all she takes in with her is what Haggai, the king's eunuch, advises her. Now he is a authority over Esther. As a matter of fact, I think there's some great authority pictures in this whole book of Esther. I think Mordecai is an archetype of the Holy Spirit, and I think that under that canopy we have the eunuch as being an immediate overseer for Esther. Now, Esther followed the eunuch's direction because she knew that, number one, he had had interaction with the king, and number two, he had observed the king's ways, the king's likes and dislikes. That put a lot of pressure on the eunuch to do the right thing. Folks, being in authority is not a place of privilege, but a place of responsibility. And so we parents need to get underneath that yoke seriously. We too need to spend time with our king. We need to spend time in His Word, in time praying, in times meditating over His Word, listening to sermons, to downloads, to podcasts, to know how God thinks, to advise our children. Because when we advise our children, we are also vicariously advising our grandkids. I oftentimes tell my kids that leadership is tough, parenting is tough. God gives general parameters in His words, but individualizing that takes the power of the Holy Spirit. And I'm doing that, number one, to walk in humility in myself before my kids, but number two, to train them to be parents, to help them to understand that being in authority is tough. It's difficult sometimes, but yet it's what God has ordained. And so this week, I encourage you parents to think about, are we being faithful as the authorities in our home? Are we spending time with the king to be able to advise those underneath us, specifically our children, for us dads or husbands, our wives as well? Are we spending time with the king to give them the best direction possible? And next week we'll talk about the flip side of that, what it means to be under authority. This is Kirk Smith with ICHE's Take 5.